New footage allegedly showing JayZ's crew trying to kidnap 50 Cent just broke the internet, and millions bought it without question. But when you dig into where the video actually came from and what 50 Cent said when confronted about it, the real story is far more disturbing. The footage that shook the internet. In December 2025, a video surfaced on the internet claiming to show JayZ's people running up on 50 Cent in what looked like a straight-up kidnapping attempt. And what that footage dragged back into the light about their war is way uglier than anybody was ready for. That one clip uploaded under the title "New Footage of 50 Cent's Kidnapping Attempt by JayZ's Crew Goes Viral" stacked up tens of thousands of views in a matter of days. It had grainy visuals, dramatic voiceovers, and a storyline so wild that it tore through YouTube, X, Facebook, and TikTok like somebody lit a fuse on the whole internet at once. The narrative was straightforward but heavy in what it was suggesting. That before 50 Cent ever blew up and became one of the hardest names in rap, JayZ and the crew around him allegedly tried to snatch him right off the block to shut him up for good. Facebook groups like Real Hip Hop Nations and Power Universe were pushing posts with headers like "New heated footage between JayZ and 50 Cent goes viral, fans are losing it." And over on X, posts tying the footage to leaked government documents and other high-profile scandals were pulling in hundreds of thousands of views inside the first 72 hours of the whole thing hitting the timeline. Now, to really get why millions of people ran with this and took it as gospel and why this specific story hit different at this specific moment in time, you have to rewind all the way back to where this beef actually started. Because the real tension between JayZ and 50 Cent did not kick off with some kidnapping clip floating around the internet. It kicked off with a track that came out of nowhere from a dude that nobody in the mainstream had ever even heard of. In 1999, Curtis Jackson, a 24-year-old MC out of South Jamaica, Queens, who grew up watching his moms get taken from him when he was just 8 years old, who spent his teenage years hustling on the block, and who learned how to count bars and structure hooks down in Jam Master Jay's basement, dropped his debut single, "How to Rob." The whole concept was bold in a way the game had never witnessed before. Over a bouncy Trackmaster's instrumental, 50 Cent ran through a list of every big-name rapper and singer he would hypothetically stick up bar for bar, name by name. He came for DMX. He came for Busta Rhymes. He came for Missy Elliott. And he came for Sean Carter, JayZ, who by 1999 was already sitting on multi-platinum numbers off the strength of joints like Reasonable Doubt and Volume 2 Hard Knock Life. The track was never supposed to be taken at face value. 50 Cent himself said it was meant as a joke and was never intended to disrespect anybody. But once it was out there, it was out there. Every rapper whose name got dropped on that record had to decide whether they were going to clap back or look soft. The industry's reaction was swift and loud. Ghostface Killer stepped to 50 Cent in the Sony building. Big Pun responded on wax. Corrupt, Sticky Fing, and Wyclef all laid down their own answers, but the response that carried the most weight came from the biggest name on the entire list. JayZ fired back at Hot 97's Summer Jam concert that same year, debuting a track called "It's Hot, Some Like It Hot," with the bar that would echo through hip-hop history. "I'm about $1. What, 0 cents?" That was the kind of line that could flatline a career before it ever got started. But 50 Cent was not pressed about it at all. In a 2003 sit-down with Rolling Stone, Fif actually said he took it as a compliment. When he responded, "I was complimented." He wouldn't say anything back to somebody he didn't think was hot. "I never went to the radio until after he said that about me. I don't know if my career would be where it's at if he didn't respond." And have himself, years down the line, confirmed that he clocked the threat 50 Cent represented from jump. On The Breakfast Club, JayZ recalled pulling up to the studio and trying to put his entire Rockefeller roster on notice about what was headed their way.
I remember one time walking in the studio and it was like a small gap. And
JayZ was standing right there in front of his whole squad. Beanie Sigel, Memphis, Bleak, and the whole roster, telling them straight up that the window they had to run the game was about to slam shut.
beans. Everybody was in there, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all got a chance right now. Just flood it, put out a lot.
He was telling every last one of them to drop as much music as they possibly could because there was something brewing out of Queens that was about to change the entire landscape of the game.
Music, because 50 Cent is coming. And, 4 months later in the club hit.
And 4 months later in the club, it hit, and just like I've called it, 4 months later in the club, it dropped, and the whole game shifted overnight. But what JayZ said right after that is the part that most folks are sleeping on.
Over. Right. It was just like, okay, now everybody got to sit on the sidelines.
Everybody had to fall back. The entire Rockefeller lineup, the whole Def Jam machine, every MC spitting in New York. All of them had to take a seat and wait for the tidal wave that was 50 Cent to roll through. Fifth's debut album, Get Rich or Die Trying, moved over 872,000 copies in its opening week, and the whole balance of power in hip-hop flipped on its head overnight. JayZ was not just giving 50 Cent his flowers. He was flat out admitting that FIF was the single most dangerous force to step into the arena in years, and that even the most powerful label infrastructure in rap could not hold him back. That admission coming from the same man who would later be accused of trying to have him snatched off the streets is the kind of detail that makes this whole situation way more tangled than the clickbait headlines ever let on. But what happened to 50 Cent before that album ever saw the light of day is the bedrock that this entire kidnapping narrative was stacked on top of. On May 24, 2000, months after How to Rob had painted a target on his back for the entire industry to see, 50 Cent caught 9 bullets outside his grandmother's crib in South Jamaica, Queens. He took slugs to his hand, his arm, his hip, both legs, his chest, and his jaw. One round tore through his cheek and knocked out a wisdom tooth, permanently changing the way he talked and the way he rapped for the rest of his life. The shooting was later connected not to JayZ, but to Kenneth Supreme McGriff, a New York drug lord with deep ties to Murder Incorporated Records. According to an IRS affidavit that laid out a conspiracy to silence 50 Cent over bars that referenced McGriff's criminal operations, before the shooting even went down, 50 Cent's beef with Ja Rule and Murder Incorporated had already gotten physical. A confrontation in Atlanta and an altercation at the Hit Factory studio in March 2000 ended with 50 Cent getting stabbed, and Murder Incorporated rapper Black Child later claimed responsibility for the blade. 50 Cent survived all of it. Columbia Records cut him loose. His debut album, Power of the Dollar, got shelved and never dropped officially. Every label in the business treated him like he was carrying a disease nobody wanted to catch. And then Eminem stumbled across one of his mixtapes, signed him to Shady Records in 2002, and the rest became the type of comeback story that Hollywood literally turned into a movie, the 2005 film Get Rich or Die Trying. But the viral footage that blew up across the internet in December 2025 spun a completely different version of those events. Instead of pointing the finger at Supreme McGriff or Ja Rule or Murder Incorporated, the people who were actually tied to 50 Cent's brush with death, the videos flipped the script to put JayZ and his associates at the center of the story. They chopped up old 50 Cent interviews, dropped in random stock footage of car chases that had nothing to do with anything, and layered narrated voiceovers on top, claiming that JayZ's hitmen were sent to take out the rising Queens rapper before he could become a real problem. The reason people bought it had everything to do with the timing. Because by December 2025, JayZ was no longer just some rapper that 50 Cent had smoked with from the old days. He was a rapper sitting dead center in multiple major scandals. And 50 Cent was the one standing there with the lighter fluid and the match, ready to torch everything. The Empire Strikes Back. To really understand how a completely made-up kidnapping video could catch this much traction this fast, you've got to understand what was going down in JayZ's world at the exact moment this footage hit the streets. Because by late 2024, rolling into 2025, the pressure was coming at Sean Carter from every direction imaginable. And 50 Cent was posted up outside every single exit with a megaphone, a camera crew, and absolutely zero intention of letting up. On December 8, 2024, JayZ got named as a co-defendant in a civil lawsuit alleging that he and another powerful music mogul had assaulted a 13-year-old girl at an MTV Video Music Awards after party back in the year 2000. The suit, brought by an anonymous woman going by Jane Doe and repped by Texas attorney Tony Busby, had originally been filed back in October with only the other mogul's name on it. The amended version added JayZ. Both men denied every allegation. JayZ came out swinging with a public statement calling the whole thing a blackmail play, went after Busby's credibility hard, and demanded that the accuser step out from behind the anonymity and identify herself. His attorney, Alex Spiro, filed a formal letter with the court pushing for an emergency hearing, stating point blank that Carter was completely innocent and characterizing the entire ordeal as a shakedown. 50 Cent, true to form, could not let that slide without getting his shots off. Within hours of the lawsuit going public, he hopped on Instagram and posted, "Okay, I don't know what's going on, but are we going to still have the Super Bowl? I'm just asking for a friend." That was a direct jab at JayZ's Rock Nation, the outfit that manages and books the talent for the Super Bowl halftime show. And what Fifth said in a podcast appearance shortly after that showed just how deep the bad blood over the Super Bowl situation really ran.